Hi everyone. We've got our first tag unit to boot. These are Rain and Fina. Welcome to Fina Fantasy, I guess, because we're gonna hear the name Fina a lot today. So, yeah, technically we were expecting two tag units, or three even, three tag units today. Rain Fina, Lasswell Raegen, and Charlotte and Faisalas. But Gumi, on the other hand, they thought, let's split them up. And now we've got Rain and Fina today, and Lasswell and Raegen Thursday next week. And that also means my prediction for January units is completely, or not completely, but for the most part wrong or inaccurate. But we'll talk about the split up in banners, etc., on the February outlook, which is going to be a lot easier because we pretty much know what's happening in the first 2 weeks. But yeah, the outlook for February is releasing sometime next week, definitely. I'm pretty much done with that part, or the preparation is almost done. I just need to record all that stuff. So yeah, it might be as soon as Sunday or Monday. We'll see. But let's get back to the banner review. Rain and Fina featuring Dark Fina and Fina. Again, a Fina fantasy. So yeah, let's check them out. As you can see, on the left you're seeing their associated forms. The upper one is the normal form and the lower one is their breath shift. So, Trustmaster is a materia with unconditional 30% attack and magic, so pretty much hybrid stuff, as well as a plus 30 attack with a greatsword equipped, or 30% magic increase while a bow is equipped. The Super Trustmaster is a two-handed greatsword with 184 attack, 176 magic, and plus 100% limit burst damage, which you're not seeing on this sheet, but you will see it later on. The weapon has variants from 1 to 1.6, and I'll be getting to that later on. The vision card, called Thanks for Everything, is at level 1, 45 base attack and magic, at level 10, 80 base attack and magic. The passive at 4 and 7 is both 40% attack when wielding greatswords, or 40% magic increase when wielding bows. The level 10 passive is 30% resistance to fire and light, and it only applies to Brave Exvius units. Okay, now let's check out their base form abilities. So in the base form, Rain and Fina are physical DPS. And as you can see, they tend to lean into the fire sort of things with the fire attack. It's it's striking twice. The first one being only 3x modifier, super low to be honest, but that is what it is with attacking 2 times, I guess. And the 69x for the second one on the Stardust Rain chaining family. The second ability, I'm hovering over my mouse, is the hybrid attack. 100x, pretty cool. However, please note, remove all status effects from all enemies on an absolute mirror of equity. Cool on paper, absolutely useless in real world usage, because if you're removing all abilities, goodbye imperils, goodbye breaks, etc. Not the best option. They do provide Fire, Earth, Light imperils at 120%. They can buff their own attack by 300%. Pretty much every NV unit can do this, or the equivalent magic these days. They do have a 200% LB damage buff, which is pretty nice. They can also, or they do also, on the same ability, by the way, is the 5-turn cooldown, available turn 1 ability, which also increases autocast LB gauge by 50 on the next and the following turn. Let me check the name of the ability. Kurimun. Something with Kurimun. Kurimu. I don't know. I can't distinguish between these two. One should be N and the other one should be So, but Crimson. Oh, that's Crimson Rotasu. I don't know, but it should be Crimson, the first one. Anyway, the other one, as you can see here, the turn 4 cooldown. It's only available on turn 4. It's a super strong attack. Strikes twice again. Not a huge fan of that because it tends to break chains. But it has a 10x modifier on the first hit and a strong, really strong 130x attack. And it is stronger than most limit bursts from older units, so that is pretty decent. Their Magnus is that they imbue fire to themselves and also amplify fire, physical and magical, to themselves by 15%. Not too bad. And on the bottom, you can see that they also increase fire resistance to the whole party by 80%, as well as increase physical as well as magical damage to beasts by 150% for all allies. That is super cool. What my first thought was they are trying to phase out Mastermind Zorn with these units probably. Not gonna happen, bro. To be honest, Mastermind Zorn is just too good. And on the passives, nothing too really cool. Obviously, they do not have the 6x chain cap increase because they're a true dual hand unit. So yeah, nothing too fancy here. They only have 100% increase LB damage, by the way, passively. So that's something to take note of. And because both of these, or the normal form has a huge limit burst, as you can see, with lots of text and increasing modifiers 10x to most of their abilities, especially the Fire Taint Shark attack. Let's just go back for 1 second. Oh, Starter Stray, sorry. The Starter Stray attack gets an increase by 10x if you're using their limit burst. So that's okay, right? It gets better, but you actually have to use their limit burst, which hits only at 120x. It's a tag attack, so it's pretty cool for capping with a different unit. And it's a fixed fire attack, so it's dealing fire damage, locked to fire, as you can see. Not so flexible, I would say. And let's check out their Brave Shift form. So in the Brave Shift, Rain and Fina become a mage attacker. And just to be upfront about this, their Brave Shift is bad. It's so bad that it's not even worth EX plus 1ing them if you're low on Transcension Pearls. I mean, yeah, you're obviously losing some attack, some DPS overall, but not EX 1ing them, but I don't think it's worth it. And you'll see in a minute why. So, technically, they do have 3 different elements, fire, earth, and light, as you can see, but the only really one that is applicable is light at 85x, and earth, fire are only at 58x, so absolutely useless. All 3 of them are tag chains, by the way, which is kind of nice. They still sport the useless hybrid attack at 100x. And it's pretty much more of the same, right? The cooldown, the resistance cooldown, increasing LB gauge by 10, fire, earth, light resistance, imperil by 120. However, in their shift form, they are also some kind of support or healer. As you can see, the turn 1 ability, the turn 1 cooldown, as you can see here where I'm hovering with the mouse, is mitigating damage, physical and magical, from beasts by 15% to all allies. Pretty decent. I mean, not decent, it's really good. If you're fighting a beast boss, take Chimera, for example. Take Chimera as a beast and he deals 15% less damage. Pretty decent. Or 7.5, I should say, because Chimera is demon and beast. And yeah, they also have a stronger cooldown attack. Well, technically it's not actually strong, it's only 80%, 80x and 10x double hit attack. And they also have a Magnus, tag chaining, increasing light amp 15%, etc, etc. What's coolest about their Brave Shift form is that they are actually a healer that isn't really bad. As you can see, their Kiraja over here is 2500 HP, 18x to all allies. They do have auto revive. They can revive one KO'd ally with full HP. So yeah, not too bad. So the one over here, Kiraja, they have Desuna. So yeah, they can remove a lot of stuff. Not too shabby. Let's check out the passives. Nothing too serious. Again, rather underwhelming. No 6x cap. Oh, by the way, I forgot almost. They have the 70% damage increase towards broken enemies. As you can see on the bottom here, increased magic damage against broken enemies. Let's just move back to the passives on the base form. As you can see, they also have the increased physical damage against broken enemies. Okay, sorry for moving through the sheet so much. I just realized I forgot to talk about that. And yeah, their limit burst in their Brave Shift form does not deal damage. It does, however, cure all status ailments to all allies, which is pretty cool. It revives everyone, recovers 300 MP, casts auto revive for 3 turns to all allies, as well as increasing fire, lightning, earth, and light resistance by 80% for 3 turns for all allies. So it's a pretty loaded limit burst. When it comes to support and healing, or not healing, but pretty much support, right? So yeah, not too shabby, but again, the damage is super low in the Brave Shift form. And if you really want a healer, maybe you want to bring a dedicated healer such as Eurasia, who does way more things than they do. I mean, technically they can chip in some damage, but if your damage isn't sufficient enough and you need a healer, just bring a healer and have the fight take 1 or 2 turns longer. Okay, let's check out their Trust Master and Super Trust Master. So again, the first one is a Materia, 30% attack magic, plus 30% attack with a greatsword, or plus 30% magic with a bow. So, yeah. The Trust Master is rather underwhelming, if you're asking me, due to the bow restriction. So it would be pretty decent for hybrid units if it didn't have the bow restriction, say swords or not staffs, but rods, for example. That'd be better. Bows are being rarely used, especially by hybrid units. It's good for themselves, but not so much for other units, especially true dual wield units. Nobody will profit from that. The Super Trust Master, on the other hand, 184 attack, 176 magic, plus 100 LB damage, and yeah, variance 1 to 1.6x. It's a very strong weapon, especially for limit burst units. It has, or the higher variance allows for luck of the draw spike damage. So if you're super lucky, you might have the 1.6x increase, so 60% damage increase from this weapon, which is pretty good. But on average, you will only see technically only a 30% damage increase from this weapon. And I do want to state here that this is a pretty much normal distribution, right? Meaning it pretty much tops out at the 1.3x thingy. But the problem is, or the issue I'm having with weapons such as these is, we do have weapon variants already, right? And damage variants. And adding on top of that another variance factor, I don't like it. Technically, this weapon is super good. And I, for one, I will pull for the unit mainly for this weapon. However, please note, the usages are super limited. No unit other than Cloud Remake, if it gets his EX plus 2 updates, wants to use a two-handed greatsword. I think there might be another one who wants to use two-handed greatswords, but I'm not sure who it is. I know Cloud Remake, if he gets his upgrades from his EX +2, where he actually becomes a super good limit burst damage unit. He wants to use this weapon. But other than that, and of course, Rain and Fina do want to use this weapon, but other than these two, I don't think anyone wants to use a two-handed greatsword. So, But yeah, even at low variance, this weapon is still vastly superior to other two-handed greatswords, even if you leave the killers aside here for a moment. Okay, let's check out the vision card. I'm super happy that I found a GIF, not GIF, it's GIF of the vision card. So you have something to look at and not just a static image. Again, I'm not going to repeat the passives, etc. You have them on the screen. So all in all, it's a decent hybrid vision card. It has the highest attack and magic to date. It's higher than Eldrin and it's higher than Starlight Elena. So, okay. But it is focusing, for my taste, a little bit too much on the attack side of things. And I don't think Starlight Elena and Eldrin do want to use greatswords. But I'm not sure. I've never used greatswords on my Starlight Elena, that I do know. I'm not so sure about Eldrin. I don't have him. I don't know how to build him properly, as I've never looked too much into him. But yeah, please keep in mind, if you do want to use this vision card on a hybrid unit, the good things are behind greatswords. So your mileage may vary, right? The level 10 passive with 30% firelight resistance is really underwhelming for a DPS unit. I can see where this is coming from, because their Brave Shift form is more of a support than actual damage dealer. But still, if you're putting this on, say, Starlight Elena or Eldrin, you will lose damage, pretty much, because Eldrin's vision card is technically better because of the killer buff or killer passive it has. Nonetheless, strong base attack and magic, and it's only restricted to FFBE units, and we do have a couple, and we are getting a lot more in the upcoming weeks, so it's not that bad. I like the FFB units only restriction more than anything else, say restricted to Final Fantasy 6 units, for example. We've got only one Neo Vision or more. We've got a couple, but we've got way more FFB units that we could use the vision card on. So yeah, all in all, it's okay, but nothing to be really super hyped about. Okay, let's check out build and damage. So on the top, you're seeing the normal form of Rain and Fina. They're using their own STMR, of course, I should say. This is mostly a STMR heavy build, as you can see. Red Hellebore, Glacial Battlegarb. So Red Hellebore is Scarlet STMR, Glacial Battlegarb is Mystical Eyes Lasswell STMR, Warlord Legguards, Zenada STMR, Limited Moon Red 13, Guardian of Light, Sora for the LB increase, Master of Fate Cloud Remake STMR. Courage to Move On is Cloud Advent Children Trustmaster. And Battle Intelligence is, that one is replaceable by whatever you like, pretty much. I just put it in there just to fill out all the materia slots. As you can see, with their own buffs, so 300% attack, but they reach 6.4k attack, which is pretty good. They have 300% or 300 LB damage. And just from the things we are having on here, plus the Battle Intelligence, 200 Beast Killer already. And 100% Human Killer. Pretty decent, I would say. So, yeah, the base rotation. On turn 1, you're casting the Magnus ability for the Fire Imbue and 15% Fire Amp, plus the LB damage buff and attack buff cooldown. And the third one is actually up to you. Do you need 150% Beast Killer to the party? Have it. Want burst damage? You could use, for example, if you're later than turn 2, you could use the turn 4 ability. If you need an Imperil, use the free Imperil cooldown for, or not cool, Yeah, there's a cooldown for fire, ice, and light at 120%. But in an ideal world, you'd have their limit burst gauge filled by turn 2, and you'd limit burst right away. Now, if you remember, I had the highest average burst damage on screen as well. The issue here is the builder does not show or is not updated yet for tag chains, so that's why I couldn't calculate their damage on turn 2 or the average damage they'd be dealing with their limit burst. Rain and Fina in their Brave Shift form, I geared them for magic DPS. As you can see, they are reaching quite decent numbers. It's 5k magic. I forgot that they buff themselves by 300%, so it should be a little bit higher than that. Dark Gambantein, Arc Set, Gorbus Armor, as you can see, a lot of stuff. They're also using... oh, by the way, their normal form is using, as you can see, Riku's, Kingdom Hearts New Vision Riku's vision card, and for their magic one, I'm using Ibarra's vision card. Keep that in mind. But yeah, if you're focusing on DPS in their Brave Shift form, on turn 1, you'd cast the Magnus for the light amplifier. You're using the Quad Cast Unlock cooldown, which also buffs magic by 300%. And the third one, again, up to you. It applies to the same as I just said before. If you want to reduce the damage the beast, hopefully the beast you're dealing with is doing, you can reduce their damage by 50%. And on turn 2, you just quad cast a light magic attack. That's pretty much all about it. And again, since this is a tag attack and the builder wasn't updated yet for it, I couldn't project their damage. Oh, by the way, I just want to stress this here again. Never use the hybrid attack, as it dispels the boss completely. Unless you're just farming stuff and want to kill all mobs, because this is targeting every enemy, you can use this. But if you're in a serious trial or dark visions, you don't want to use the hybrid attack. So how do they fare in the meta? DPS wise, both standard form and shift 4 are lacking. Riku and New Vision Lasswell are both vastly superior in that regard. Riku is vastly superior for compared to the Brave, not the normal form, and even Neo Vision Lasswell, who I was joking about last week, is superior to Rain and Fina when compared to the Brave Shift. Damage-wise, by the way. Rain and Fina do have okay-ish sustained damage. They have a super strong Super Trust Master, but a mediocre Trust Master. The 70% increased damage to broken enemies is pretty cool, but keep in mind that the mechanic is not used anymore after the Bahamut trial. Now, if you're coming into the comments and say, wait, Ymir has the same stuff, she also has a break bar. Yes. However, you can completely ignore Ymir's break gauge. So yeah. On paper, 70% increased damage against broken enemies is super strong, because this is applied after everything else. Meaning, say you're dealing 100 damage after every calculation, and then the 70% kicks in and you're dealing 170 damage instead. Super strong on paper. But in reality, there's very few bosses that will need this kind of mechanic. The Brave Shift form, like I said earlier, is technically super weak. It does have some nice supporting abilities, but I'd rather bring a dedicated healer or supporter such as Erasure to the fight rather than using Rain and Fina for their support stuff. They have 150% Beast Killer for the whole team, 4 turns at 5 turns cooldown. Very strong, but still, in conclusion, I feel like the tag units are starting off rather weak. I'm not a huge fan of a unit that tries to do both, but is essentially bad at both. So yeah, that's where I'm at with Rain and Fina. We'll see. Next up, we've got Fina and Dark Fina. Base form. Oh, they're Fina and Dark Fina. Okay, I thought it was Dark Fina and Fina, but doesn't matter. It's Fina, it's Fina, it's Fina Fantasy. If you've watched my NVA video, all of this is going to sound very familiar to you. So in the base form, they gain another Stardust Ray attack, which also increases LB damage by 150%. It's Earth Magic, 57x to all enemies, and they gain another ability that increases magic and SPR by 250%, and also enables triple cast. So yeah, they do have 150 more static magic, they gain some earth resistance, they're petrify immune, and their new limit burst also enables triple cast. It's a super weak attack with 37x and increases 200 magic, so totally forgettable. Let's check their Brave Shift form. In the Brave Shift form, as you can see, 72x F magic damage, only still 250 magic and SPR increase, only triple cast. They do have an Earth Amp, 20%, but again, it's weaker than Phasey's Earth Amp. Phasey has 25%. They can technically also deal light damage at 54x, which is absolutely useless. And their limit burst is an 88x Earth Magic damage attack, which also decreases Earth resistance by 130. Let me just say it outright, she's a joke unit. She's that bad. Okay, let's discuss should you pull. While Magic Beastkiller is cool, Archmage Kefka actually provides the same amount. And if you're looking at Dark Visions, I'd rather bring Kefka than Rain and Fina. Simple as that. I mean, Rain and Fina are pretty good for Bahamut clear, just to get this done in 15 turns, because the Bahamut trial actually somewhat requires you to use at least one unit that has the 70% increased break damage, and having Rain and Fina, who can, for example, with that LB, lay the way, because the LB is a 29 attack or 29 chain ability, they can lay the groundwork for your LB Kappa, for example, such as Raegen and Lasswell, or say Tifa if you're still using her. Rain and Fina have rather low burst damage in comparison to existing DPS, but their sustained damage is okay. Like I mentioned, 70% break damage is superb on paper, but useless most of the time outside of trials. It is not being used in Dark Visions at all, for example, and I'm hoping that it never comes to Dark Visions, because break gauges in Dark Vision, they might actually break the game or this mode. So, should you pull? I would suggest you don't pull with Lapis and actually wait for a good unit such as Lasswell and Raegen, which are coming next week. And if you really want them, yeah, sure, go for it. Their STMR is good. I, for one, and this video is coming later than or after my pulls, so yeah, as you've seen, I only use tickets or bust. So I don't know if I'm gonna get them, but yeah, my general approach to this is I'm gonna use 20 to 30 tickets. I'm not sure yet. You'll see how many I'm going to use tomorrow, or you've already seen that. And if I get them within 20 or 30 tickets, cool. If not, so be it. I don't mind, really. They're just a nice bonus with their STMR, but yeah, that's about it. Equally forgettable, Dark Fina and Fina, or Fina and Dark Fina in Neovision. They are probably the worst unit of all time. So yeah, and the star of the banner, for me at least, it's more Lapis to Horde. That's it for this banner review. I hope you enjoyed it. Oh, by the way, one final remark. This is a panel summon if you're summoning with Lapis, and it has downgraded stuff. I wouldn't pull on it, so we're not getting 100 STMR tickets anymore. We're not getting 1k lapis anymore, it's 800. Really, it's not worth it. Don't do this, don't pull on this, use tickets. It's really not worth it, trust me. You're better off waiting another week for Lasswell and Raegen. These are the units you're looking for. Alright, so yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, these are my thoughts. I might be wrong, but I shouldn't be. I really double-checked the math on there, and everything checks out. So yeah, I'm gonna pass on them. Well, I'm gonna use some tickets, but I'm not gonna use lapis. I am at almost 120k. You will see my lapis stash again next week. It's grown significantly. I haven't pulled anything in the last couple of... I believe I haven't pulled in 3 weeks or 4 weeks already. So yeah, I've gained some lapis. But I'm gonna use them for Lasswell and Raegen next week. So I hope you liked this video. I will continue to do them. And I'll see you soon for the next one. And it's going to be the Neo Vision Outlook for February 2021. And before my voice is entirely gone, thank you for watching. See you in the next one.